Rolling. I'm the ever excitable Adam, and today I'm here to talk to you about Nemesis. So Awaken Realms, unless you have been under a rock for a long time, Awaken Realms made a very good Alien/Aliens board game called Nemesis. They did a follow-up called Nemesis Lockdown, and now they have Nemesis Retaliation, which is currently on Kickstarter. Between you and me, I'm not backing it. There's different reasons for me not backing, but mainly due to the fact the amount of games I actually have and the amount of times I actually play them are very different. So whilst I'm currently really enjoying playing a bunch of dungeon crawlers at the moment, it doesn't really make sense for me to be putting money into a game that I will get in a couple of years' time and probably really love. But yeah, it's just there's other priorities I have at the moment. So you won't be seeing Nemesis Retaliation on the channel unless by some miracle Awaken Realms realizes how good we are at playing games and reviewing content and go, do you know what, they're a smaller channel, but we'll send them something fun to play with. Or, you know, in 2025, there's a high chance I could have the whole FOMO appear back and be like, oh my god, I must play Nemesis Retaliation, and I'll pick up a copy off eBay for a ridiculous amount of money. Or, yeah, I source it retail-wise. So, with that being said, so I'm not going to be talking about Nemesis Retaliation. I am simply going to be talking about the first two Nemesis games and the expansions you can get for that, or at least the expansions I have, and a completely honest kind of take on this. I have no, you know, the company aren't giving me any money to tell you to buy a bunch of stuff, because you're going to buy a bunch of stuff anyway if you're interested in this game. So yeah, it's just my honest thoughts on what you should be picking up if you are going to be picking up any of the previous games from Nemesis. And I'm going to go straight out of the gate with telling you which of the games I prefer. So we have Nemesis, which is basically the very first game. The general idea of that is you are in a spaceship. You awake in a hibernatorium / kind of, you know, cryo chamber place, and you know, the alarms are going off. You see one of your fellow crew member with a huge hole in their chest, just dead, and you're aware that there are intruders on board. You are then basically trying to use your secret objective to win the game. So you're either working with people at the table or working against people at the table, and it's a lot of backstabbing, a lot of fun, a lot of paranoia, and a lot of noise. So that's Nemesis. I personally feel it is the film Alien. But a lot of people would disagree. No, they say it's Aliens because there's more than one alien. But I feel the film Alien was a horror. The film Aliens is an action movie. And if Nemesis was a horror or an action game, I would say it is a horror. So I know there are more than one alien in Nemesis, but I personally feel this is a homage to the film Alien. I expect many comments below to tell me how wrong I am. But yeah, that's the Nemesis. I am getting to my comparison, just give me 1 minute. Nemesis Lockdown is the follow-up where basically on a research facility on Mars, I believe, and it's like a skeleton crew at the weekend, and there's a breakout. So the system goes into lockdown, and you're trying to escape the facility before the corporate kind of entity sends its forces to purge the facility. This one's a lot more straightforward when it comes to gameplay mechanics. Has some interesting stuff with regards to powering up different areas in there. But yeah, let's talk about which is best. So, if I was only going to own one of them, it would be Nemesis. Nemesis Lockdown is a great game. It beats Nemesis in gameplay, but it doesn't beat Nemesis in theme. So Nemesis, I'm all about thematic game, guys, and a thematic game to me is something that really draws you in and you feel, you know, immersion in it. And Nemesis for me is the one that draws me in the most. Is a game I love getting out to the table. There's a lot of rules in there, so it's not for somebody who's basically starting out at board games, but there are loads of far more charismatic people than I who have made how to play videos, so most people should be able to pick this up. And the most confusing thing with the original Nemesis, which I don't know if they have corrected in further editions, is the term of kind of round and turn. So in my mind, a turn would be when a player basically plays their turn, they play their actions for their turn, it goes to the next person to play their turn, and so forth and so forth. And once everyone has gone, that's a round. However, in the original Nemesis, they refer to your actions as a round and everyone's go as a turn. So when I first started playing this, I was playing it completely wrong because I couldn't kind of like get out of that mindset that a round was a turn and a turn was a round. They may have corrected that for later editions. I know in Nemesis Lockdown, they definitely changed that. So a round is what most people would class as a round and a turn is what most people would class as a turn. But yes, Nemesis on gameplay is great. It's very fun. You have engines, which you need to make sure 2 out of 3 are working. You have a destination, which you need to make sure is going to Earth. As long as you've got those things set in stone, then you're golden, you're great. You also have to get back to the Hymenatorium or escape via an escape pod to kind of win. Then you have your secret objectives coming in, which basically mean, oh, the engineer who went to engineering and said that both those engines were working, actually he sabotaged the engines and he jumps off. It's fantastic. The paranoia in the game, you can't trust anybody in the game. But yeah, for theme alone, Nemesis. Gameplay-wise, Nemesis Lockdown is a lot tighter. The characters, I feel, have a lot more synergy, so you can work together a lot more. Some are really more useful than others, I'd say. In Nemesis Lockdown, like the lab rat, I don't really feel is a valuable character at all. I kind of feel her special abilities a bit naff. Whereas, you got a hacker who can, I think they can turn off power in sections, which is fantastic. So Nemesis Lockdown, let's talk about that. So they've got a few different things in there. So for instance, you've got these new things where you're basically, there's like a corporate contingency token. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially you have this information at the beginning of the game and there's like 7 of these things and they range from when the timer gets to the very end. If you've completed, if the whole place hasn't blown up, then the corporate team that's come in to kind of like purge a facility, they'll either kill everybody, they'll kill people who don't have enough knowledge about things, they'll kill all people in the in the bunker, or they'll kill people in a particular place. So at the very beginning of the game, you start with a piece of information knowing that, let's say, they're not going to kill everybody. So one of these tokens we put to one side. So the rest of the tokens, it's like as you draw them out, you realize you've got less chance. You start figuring out what the one token that's been put aside actually is. Now you can share this information or you can lie about this information, which adds to paranoia. But with Nemesis Lockdown, I don't feel as much paranoia. It really feels like you have a very tight kind of timeline, and trying to manipulate the power in sections. For me anyway, I tend to focus on that fairly early on because it becomes very important, in my mind anyway. So I feel like Nemesis, you have a lot more time to do things, or it feels like you do, whereas Lockdown is a lot tighter. You are racing against the clock. It is more of an action game in my mind than a horror game, which the original Nemesis was. So, in short, rambling on here, if you are a person who enjoys theme and you can only choose one of these 2 games, get Nemesis. If you're a person who enjoys action and gameplay over theme, then go for Nemesis Lockdown. That's straight out of the gate, that's what I would say. But there's other stuff you can get. So you can get, he unfurls, you can get one of these neoprene mats. Now, I'm not a huge fan of neoprene mats. Now, the reason for that being that I find that neoprene mats, they tend to be slightly larger than the boards they're representing. They're also a bit darker in color. And when you've got quite a dark spaceship already, it does look a little darker than I'd like, maybe. But the reason I picked it up, one of my first Kickstarters, probably not my first Kickstarters, but one of the biggest Kickstarters I got back in the day was Lords of Hellas. It's a game I absolutely love, and hopefully we'll get on the channel sometime so you guys can have a look at it and see what you think. Now, I really enjoyed that game, but the board kind of splits in 6, just the same as the Nemesis one, and I'm worried that it's going to fray. And the Nemesis original board game board, that also I was kind of worried it would fray. So when Nemesis Lockdown 2 came out, Nemesis Lockdown came out, and you could buy the original kind of gameplay mat. I was like, I'm gonna pick that up because, you know, when you're getting this out and it's one of those kind of 6-folded kind of boards, if you play a lot, there is going to be wear and tear in there. It's just natural. Whereas with a neoprene mat, you're not going to get the wear and tear. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit bigger on the table, so you don't have as much room. Like the Western Legends neoprene mat I have, you can't play the game on my table. You need a huge table to be able to play that game. But yeah, this is a little bit bigger than the board, I'd say. It's worth your money if you think you're going to be playing a lot of this and you're worried about wear and tear. But yeah, it's what's pretty good about it as well. It's double-sided, so with Nemesis, the original game, you have a double-sided board. One side is slightly easier to kind of move around. The other side has some preset kind of things on it, and it's a bit trickier to move about. But yeah, it's got both of those on that mat, which is pretty good. I don't own the Nemesis Lockdown mat, but I believe it is also double-sided. The nice thing about Nemesis Lockdown is the map on that, you have like a facility in 3 different sections on one side, and the other side, they're like 3 different kind of areas, and also an external kind of points you can move across where you have additional kind of weather hazards and stuff happening, which is pretty interesting. So that's the mat. Untold Stories. So I own Untold Stories 1 and 2. I don't know what Untold Stories 1 currently is. I'll probably open a box in a minute and be like, oh, there it is. But Untold Stories, this is kind of like a bit of a campaign for the game. So Nemesis and Lockdown, standalone games. You can play Nemesis, then you can go on to Lockdown, and you've got to, you know, continue a narrative thread. It's like Aliens. Although I believe Retaliation is more like Aliens, but that being said, Alien, and then you've got the next film. So the Untold Stories books basically are a kind of comic book, which has a bit of, you basically go to somewhere on the board, you pick up a token, and it tells you look at a page in the book. You look at the page in the book, you read what it says in there, and you know a little bit more about the story. I've not played Untold Stories 2. I played some of Untold Stories 1. If I'm honest, it's not really seen the light of day. Mainly because getting people together to play Nemesis, it's normally, I'm the most experienced Nemesis player that I know. I play it a few times, and most of the time I'm introducing new people to the game, or we're playing one of the expansions. I've not really got to a point where people have been saying, you know what, I want to keep playing Nemesis every week or every 2 weeks. So Untold Stories, I've played like the first 2 missions from it, and I had some questions and kind of went off into forums, and then I never came back to it. It's a really fun idea. I'm sure you can find YouTube channels where I actually do gameplay run-throughs of Untold Stories 1 and 2. So yeah, check those out to see if it's more for you. But from my perspective, if you have to add this on, unless you think you're going to be playing a campaign, there's no real point to adding this. It's really fun kind of like narrative. The artwork in these are fantastic. The first one's got better artwork than the second one in my honest opinion. But yeah, I've not played it, so I can't really recommend this. But if I'm saying, do you need everything? I don't think you need this. But you know, it's subjective. It really is subjective. Okay, so Nemesis comes with one set of bad guys called the Intruders, who are your general kind of like alien life forms you're fighting. Nemesis Lockdown comes with these kind of Night Stalkers, I think they're called, which they're more like the pitch black kind of monsters. And I believe they're an evolved version of the original Intruders, but I'm not 100% certain. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, in Nemesis Lockdown, you have to power on different areas of the station to give it light. Otherwise, those are areas that don't have power, they're in darkness, and when you pull out these Night Stalkers, there's a much higher chance they're going to like do something really horrible. And the event deck is always stacked for like kind of light and dark effects as well, so depending whether you're in power or not. So they're the 2 starting kind of like aliens you get, but there are another 3 alien types in the base games anyway, the first 2 games, which you can get. So let's talk about the carnomorphs first. The carnomorphs are essentially, if you've played Dead Space, they are essentially that. They are these creatures that basically kind of go into dead bodies, and they feed on dead and they get bigger and bigger. It's got a fantastic, the miniatures in there are my favorite of the aliens. Like the Nemesis aliens look great because they look like the aliens from, you know, they're like xenomorphs, they're great. Whereas the carnomorph guys are just grisly. They're really fun. They're like blood and sinew and bone. The main, like the butcher kind of character has like a skull for a head. It's gross and it's cool. They add new gameplay mechanics to this as well. I'm trying to think of what the gameplay mechanics are, so I'm going to open this up now, because I know that you get like, I think it's mutations. I think you get mutated in this. So you're going to be getting like a new carnomorph board for this. Now, what's important to know about this is this means they're compatible with Nemesis. This does not mean they're compatible with Nemesis Lockdown. I believe maybe you're going to be getting, I can't remember whether you get the carnomorph boards in Nemesis Lockdown or whether that was one of the expansion kind of packs. That was in the stretch goals for Nemesis Lockdown that wasn't included in Lockdown. So I don't know. Maybe if you know, put the answers below. But I don't know whether if you buy this alone, whether it is compatible with Lockdown. I would assume that someone has basically gone back to the carnomorph box and just added in a board for Lockdown. The reason you need a different board for Lockdown is because it's got a whole different thing about kind of like knowledge. You're going to be learning things about the aliens, which kind of helps you discover things about them, but also one of those contingency tokens when the corporate kind of purge team comes down. One of them is if you don't know 4 or more or something like that, then you dead. So if you don't have something which tracks knowledge on here, I mean, you could just use the original board's knowledge track, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, so you will need that. But yeah, like I'm kind of showing you this and I'm sitting all the way over here, so you can't really see it. I don't know if it'll focus, but the Butcher, I think he's called actually, he's just fantastic. It's such a really cool miniature. It's kind of a little bit like the Thing, crossed with like necromorphs and stuff. But yeah, you get like a bunch of cards in here as well, so you get like a whole new event deck in here, which is specifically tailored to the carnomorphs. A new carnomorph attack deck, and you also get the character mutations. So basically, you check to see whether you're infected or not, and then you'll be getting these like special powers, which can come in handy. But yeah, the more and more mutated you get, the less and less human you become. The carnomorphs have an interesting mechanic where they basically are feeding off the dead. The games I've played with them, I haven't had that many kind of instances where they have just kept eating dead and getting bigger and bigger. If you play a game where you leave a lot of dead bodies around, these guys are going to get, they're going to really advance, and that makes them pretty deadly. But if you're playing a game where you tend to run away more than you do fight, then there is a chance you don't really get many out on the board. From my own personal experience with this anyway, I think the first time I played this on the channel, I played this slightly wrong, so they really just weren't turning up on the board. I feel like if you are playing solo, the carnomorphs aren't really that essential. If you are, unless you really like the kind of theme of them. But if you're playing multiplayer, anything that adds gameplay into a game which you think you're going to be playing multiple times. I mean, you're spending a bunch of money on these games. You want to be thinking about how many times you're going to be playing this, I guess. So I would say if you're playing multiplayer, the carnomorphs are going to be coming out a lot more. However, I don't know that because I've never played this multiplayer. I've only ever played the base guys and the base guys for both. So I can't really recommend on multiplayer how these guys work. They might work a lot better, but for solo playthroughs, I didn't really feel like they came out that much. However, I really enjoy the theme. Mutation element to this is pretty interesting. It just kind of adds a variety to the base box, which which is always a good thing. So, carnomorphs, should you get them? I'd say yeah. If you're in for a penny, in for a pound, they are out of the 3 new alien races, they're probably my second favorite. So let's go to my third favorite. When we're going to talk about the Aftermath and Void Seeders. Now, I believe Void Seeders you can get separately. Aftermath was an expansion for the original Nemesis, which basically has been, only came out with the original Nemesis, and scalpers on eBay have been selling this for a pretty profit. Obviously, mine has stayed here because I'm not a scalper and I enjoyed the game too much. Now, Aftermath, what this does, this is set directly after the original Nemesis. And the idea with this game is basically, you'll play a game of Nemesis, and as long as the ship didn't blow up, you can then go on to the next phase where you bring a new ship board to the side, which is basically docked with a Nemesis, and you have a whole new game. I have never played it. I've owned this since the first one came out. I have read the rules. I have looked at the pieces. I think I've even incorporated some of the new tiles from this into the base game, but I've never played this. Now, I do own quite a few board games, so I like to kind of change the games I'm playing regularly. And because I haven't had people who have got a vast knowledge of Nemesis, playing some of the different aliens or the new kind of like the more advanced rules, it just seemed a bit of a chore for me to kind of do that, because I've got to learn all this extra stuff, and then it might it might kind of clash with the original rules, and I could really muck things up. Also, to basically play a game in Nemesis, you're taking 2 to 3 hours, and if you've got more players, it could be even more. Nemesis has player elimination as well, so you can have some people who are basically just sitting at the table. I've had one game where the scientist on, I think, the second round or turn, they basically spawned the alien queen, and because they've been having a really hard time of it from the offset, they would have died. And that was in the very first, I don't know, the first like 40 minutes of setting this game up and playing it. So yeah, it's having someone sitting eliminated for so long, and then it kind of sucks a little bit. They can come back as the alien. Anyway, that's player elimination. So the idea of like a long game of Nemesis, which takes 2 to 3 hours, then an additional game of Nemesis in one sitting, seems too much of a good thing in my mind. You can take a photo of the original Nemesis board layout, because you've got to basically play the first game, settle where everything is, and then you pick up where you left off. So then these guys come in. So I've never played it. However, I feel like these days I've got more of a kind of player base where I can actually just play this with some people, teach it to them, and then play this and that. I think we're going to do that at some point in the not too distant future. Whether that's going to be on the channel or whether that's going to be in the comfort of my own home without worrying about cameras, I do not know. But if you'd love to see this on the channel, I'd love to see us take a go of this, take a tackle this even, then let me know. All the Nemesis videos I believe we have on the channel, we have like a comparison review, and we also have like a bit of gameplay in that, I believe. We haven't played multiplayer on the channel. It's been me playing on my own, getting some of the rules wrong. But yeah, so maybe if you'd like to just play some multiplayer Nemesis, let me know in the comments below, and we will set that up, because I do love playing this game. It's so thematic, it's so fun. But back onto this, Nemesis Aftermath. So this has the medic in there, who's an additional character. Oh, and we found Untold Stories 1. I said I'd find this somewhere. The artwork in this is just slightly better than the first one. I believe this came free with the original Nemesis, but I can't remember. I think it did. Anyway, so the new thing in this is you get, I think it's called research mode, maybe? There's a couple of different modes you can do for this, but the main one is you're supposed to play full Nemesis, then this. You get a new board. It's not double-sided. Disappointing that, in my mind. But you get a new board, which is basically the ship which docks with the Nemesis. Get a bunch of new rooms, including the turret room, which means you've got turrets on the board. You can shoot people, which is fantastic. And I've also put in all my... I've obviously mixed this all up. I haven't mixed all this up. So we've got our Void Seeder board there. Void Seeders are the new aliens, which are basically psychic kind of aliens. That they're more like a cosmic horror Cthulhu-y kind of entity that kind of come in from like in between worlds and stuff. And they basically inflict sanity on, like insanity kind of damage onto your characters. So these guys turn up. They're more ethereal. They're not that present on the board from my gameplay. But like I say, I've not played this multiplayer. I've only played this solo. So this is really a solo kind of recommendations here. The Void Seeders themselves, they're not my favorite miniatures. They're all kind of squiggly kind of alien things. They look all right, but they're not amazing. Out of all the aliens, they're probably my fourth favorite, sculpt-wise. Yeah, and fourth favorite alien, probably. So you got the Void Seeders in here. They're basically gribbly guys who are, causing your characters to go insane, which is an interesting mechanic, adding sanity to this. Then you get a bunch of new characters. Now this is great, having additional characters. The base game you've got 6 characters maybe that you can choose from. This one adds a bunch more, so you have the psychologist, the CEO who comes with a little robot buddies helping him around. You get the android who only has a certain amount of turns, I believe, before she goes like, yeah, dead. Medic, who this was another character that was kind of like came out with the original one. People have been paying crazy money for online. Bounty Hunter comes with a dog. I'm not even joking. He's got his own little dog. But does the dog die? And then the convict, who kind of starts off with only like, I think he starts handcuffed. So you have a bunch of new characters in here. Some of these you can't use with the original characters because they use the same color kind of like standee, and I think it's for balancing reasons. But yeah, so you got a bunch more characters in this. You get a new board to add, add extra kind of like gameplay. A new alien species in this, which adds sanity to the mix. Some new rooms in there. There's also, I believe, some special feats for the original characters and the new characters, which kind of change the game up a little bit. I believe they add the ability for the scientist that any leg damage is kind of ignored because he's in a wheelchair. Yeah, so it's a pretty decent box. Am I glad I got it? Yeah, I'm glad I got it because I'm a bit of a completionist in some ways. He says, not backing Nemesis Retaliation. But anything that adds additional gameplay, I'm always for. Do you need it? No. It's more value than the carnomorphs because you get like new game modes to it. There's a lot more gameplay involved in this. You get new characters. The Aftermath box, I'd say, yeah, I'd buy it. They're not my favorite aliens. They're not my least favorite aliens, but they definitely are. It's a good buy because it will expand the amount of kind of like gameplay you get from Nemesis. Like I say, I've never played it though. I've never played the additional gameplay, but the characters I have played some of the new characters in there, and yeah, it does give you a lot more choices. Do you need it? Not especially, but I would recommend you pick it up if you are a person who is expecting to get Nemesis out on the table more than once in a blue moon. Okay, let's talk about Terrain before we go to our last kind of alien box set. Now, I don't know if this is still available. I've not looked at the Kickstarter, but the Nemesis Terrain expansion brings in some little doors and some little eggs. And also some like dead bodies, and they look pretty cool. You've also got your escape pods as well. Your doors, which have little holes in them and stuff. Now, the doors themselves, they're a bit too big for the actual board. So you're going to be placing these doorways in these little corridors here. And they're just, I mean, on there it doesn't look too bad, to be fair. But I kind of feel they're a bit too chunky. They're better than the doors that come with the base game. The doors are tiny in the base game. But yeah, the scale is all off in my honest opinion. So you get doors and escape pods in the very first one. And then you get dead playing characters up here for when your characters die. They drop body kind of tokens, but you can replace them with these. I always use one of whoever isn't playing in the game, I always put their miniature in the hibernatorium to replace the original kind of dead body token you have in there. Because it kind of sets the mood. And then you have the eggs as well. The eggs I'm not I'm not a big fan of because they don't look like the alien eggs from Alien. So shoot me. But the Terrain expansion is fine. However, the lockdown stretch goals, they've got better doors in there. I'm looking, I'm like, is there doors in there? The back doesn't look like there are doors, but there are doors in this. And the best thing about these doors is you can actually take them apart. So the doors in Nemesis here, they're just standard doors, and when they're destroyed, I just use some tokens which you're supposed to use for untold stories to represent that the door can't be open or shut. There's no other way to tell whether they're broken or not. I guess you could put them down. Whereas the doors in this kind of stretch goal thing here, they're slightly smaller, so I like that, and they come apart. So you've got a broken door there, and you know it's broken. So that's fantastic. If you're painting this, could be a slight issue, wear and tear of pulling them on and off. I haven't painted any of my miniatures for Nemesis because I enjoy the miniatures too much. People say I'm pretty good at painting miniatures. I feel at this point I've been painting them a long time, so I should be at this point okay at doing them. But yeah, I just I'm kind of worried that I'll mess it up. So I don't think I'll ever paint any of my Nemesis miniatures. Yeah, so what do you get with this? Well, you get the doors, which I just showed you. You get a nice space raccoon, which is in one of my boxes. I don't know where that is. This, by the way, was sitting in my car, and I thought I'd lost it until I took it to the car wash and they found it. So thank you, people at the car wash, because I honestly thought I had lost this. The main thing you're getting with this stretch kind of box is you're getting all the cards you need to basically incorporate the other intruders from the other games. So you get the carnomorphs in there, you get the void seeders, and you also get the new aliens, the Chitrids, in here. Imagine a game of Pandemic where the kind of pandemic is basically it's set in outer space, and the kind of virus is actually a fungal growth. This is essentially what you have with the Chitrids. Is a really interesting mechanic. You're basically going to be placing down these green and purple kind of like spore kind of spawners. Okay, and they've got like little kind of, which you can't see from there, little kind of nodules on them, which go from 1 to 3. And like Pandemic, where once you have 3 of one thing and you have to add an additional kind of cube to there, it kind of explodes. Same thing here. These will start spreading out across the board, and they eventually turn into these kind of like snot things here. It's fantastic. Your characters can get like infected with these spores and stuff. The actual aliens themselves, they're like these kind of like mushroomy things. There's a few tentacles. There's a big kind of like big fungal growth as the queen. You get this board which has all the tentacles on. The more tentacles come out, I believe the easier it is to kill the thing. But it's just fantastic. I played the Chitrids on our channel. You can go check out that video to see it in action. But they have a really fun mechanic. Whereas the carnomorphs and the void seeders, they have their own different kind of mechanics for the game. They're very similar to the other aliens. Whereas this is so alien, it's so different from any other games I've really seen. Apart from Unsettled, that had like a fungal planet in it. But these are very unique alien types. Kind of fungal growth that's just overtaking stuff. It's really interesting. So I'd say this one is definitely worth getting, especially because it gives you the boards for the other ones. There's also Untold Stories 3. Like new, because never touched it, guys. Never touched it. Skim through it, look at some of the pictures, gone, that looks nice. But yeah, it's all the Untold Stories, I don't say they're necessary. This stretch goal box, get it. If you're going to get locked down, get this. It's simple as that. You get a new enemy type. You can use the cards in here to use the other enemies in there. It's a no-brainer. If you're getting Nemesis locked down, get this because it gives you the really cool 3D terrain doors in there. I think it comes with a 3D rover, but I have kind of like taken stuff out of this and put it into lockdown. But yeah, okay, so in summary, guys, what you should get. If you're only going to get one game for this out of the back catalogue, I'd personally get Nemesis. It's just, I prefer the theme of Nemesis. The gameplay isn't as good as, or as tight as Lockdown, but if you want to recreate Alien or Aliens, Nemesis is the game for you. If you can get both of them, definitely get Lockdown as well. It is a really fun game. I enjoy the idea of playing a game in Nemesis and then going on to play Lockdown. Never done that in one day. Maybe I'll do that at some point. Christmas is coming. I've got free time. Maybe we'll do that. So, cool games. I'd go Nemesis first. If you can get both, do get both because they're quite different games. They're really fun. And if your players enjoy playing Nemesis, they'll also enjoy playing Lockdown as well. It's a very different game. I then say if you're going to go for one thing after that, the Chitri Box. It's fun. The aliens are fantastic. Very different to the base aliens you get in that. I then say it's a preference on whether you want more gameplay or you want a new enemy type. I prefer the carnomorphs as an alien enemy. I just like the mutations they give. I like the aesthetic of them on the board. I like the idea of you're playing Dead Space, basically. But the Nemesis Aftermath and Void Seeded box has a lot more gameplay and new characters in. So if you go for gameplay, go for the Aftermath box. If you just want additional, but if you really enjoy the theme of an enemy, go for the carnomorphs. A better theme in my opinion. So things you should get, if you can get everything, get the Nemesis base box, get the Lockdown box, get the Chitrids, get both of the alien types. Don't get the Terrain expansion. I don't feel you need it. Only because the doors and the eggs aren't great. Is it worth it just to get the escape pods and the character things in there? Well, I don't know. The doors never get used now because I've got the much far superior doors from this. But yeah, if you're a completionist, of course you're going to pick this up. It's not necessary. I actually own 2 copies of this. I don't know how, but I have 2 copies of this. And Untold Stories. The weird thing about Untold Stories is basically it's not like you are sharing this with the entire group. You pull out an event, you read this yourself, you put it away, and you can share it with a group or not. So it's a bit jarring in some ways. I feel when you're having people pulled away from the game to read a book, which is kind of why when I'm playing narrative board games which have large books, I struggle a little bit because, yeah, who likes to be read at? Or who likes to take away from immersion to find page 94 of a book and be like, oh, this happens. Oh, I read the wrong one. I don't know. But yeah, obviously, if you're watching this, you probably already have an idea of what you like. And this is in no way, like I say, this is a completely honest opinion of this game. Nemesis, I'm really glad it's in my collection. I don't think I'll ever get rid of that. Nemesis Lockdown, same. It's fantastic. I really enjoy having the options of playing this. I enjoy the option that I could play the research mode in Nemesis Aftermath. But like I say, I've never touched it as a solo kind of co-op kind of mode. Anyway, so that's my rambling finished. A long time just chatting at you guys about which of these is best. I'm hoping the camera is recording all of this, or that was a waste of 45 to 50 minutes of my life. Anyway, if you'd like to see us do some more Nemesis content, let us know in the comments below. We, of course, are absolutely ram-packed jammers with content at the moment of stuff we are doing. We've got a couple of series on the go at the moment, so I'm trying to make sure we finish those off before moving on to the next shiniest thing, guys. Dungeon Saga Origins, we filmed all 3 of the videos I've edited together all 3 of the videos we filmed. We should be playing that again in January, I think now. Unfortunately, it slipped back to January. But we may play some solo stuff in between that or do some other videos in between that. We have, of course, I'm playing Resident Evil 1. That's on pause for the moment over the holiday period, but I'll be coming back to that in the new year. We have Assassin's Creed, which I'm playing solo, which is a fantastic game that I'm failing hard at. We'll be doing some more of those in the new year as well. And of course, we're playing Shadows of Brimstone, Gates of Valhalla. We still have one video that I currently haven't edited together. And on the 27th of this month of December, we're going to be playing the next few kind of games of that. And I painted the miniatures, so we're all good to go. And there should be 4 people playing this time, just like we did with Forbidden Fortress. So yeah, keep an eye out for those. Other games in the pipeline, in the horizon, we have a ton of new games coming, a ton of games we have which we need to do review videos for, and also gameplay videos for. I know some people have been clamoring for specific games that we have, or we've had for a while, or thoughts and opinions on certain games. So sorry, I've been very focused on doing specific things, and yeah, I will be trying to do a bit more of this kind of like dialogue where I can talk at you about some of these games and give you my honest opinions. The next one of these you should be coming along is going to be a Shadows of Brimstone buyer's guide, I guess, where I'm going to talk through my entire collection of Shadows of Brimstone asterisks at the moment, and talk about what you should get if you're going to get into it. Anyway, I've been the ever excitable Adam. I hope this video has been informative or helps you out at all. If you'd like to see Nemesis Lockdown, in action the first time I ever played it, so I get some of the rules wrong in there, then check out the channel. I've got that on there. If you want to see the Chitrids in action, I have that. I have the Void Seeders, I have the Carnomorphs. I don't have the original base game in action, but I've got all the 4 different alien types other than the intruders out there. I do make mistakes on a few of those videos, so check the comments before you start watching, just in case you're confused with any of that. But yeah, if you do want to see them in action, we do have them on the channel, and if you would like to see us do some more of this, I'm more than happy to get this to the table. Just depends on what you guys want to watch, so just let me know in the comments below if you'd love to see some more Nemesis content. Maybe you want me to get out Untold Stories with some of the guys and see how we get on with it. Anyway, I've been the ever-excited Adam. Thanks for watching. Until next time, guys, stay safe, tell your friends about this channel, and make sure you don't die rolling.